So we've all been there, right? You got a looming deadline, a growing to-do list, but somehow you find yourself binge watching Netflix, mindlessly scrolling your phones, playing that new video game, well, pretty much anything except the important task at hand. In today's video, we'll be going over why it's so difficult to kick the habit of procrastination by understanding the 5 phases of it and what you can do to put an end to this cycle. Hey nerds, if you're new to the channel, my name is Christian. I'm an occupational therapist by trade and a self-proclaimed video gaming nerd. On this channel, we discuss real-life lessons and strategies that can help you level up in the game of life. Procrastination is something that is very deeply ingrained in our psyche. There's just something about having to get something done that makes it extremely difficult to even get started with doing the thing. So I wanted to figure out how I could put a stop to it, and I thought that the best way I could do so is by actually understanding the reason I was procrastinating. So I was able to break it down into 5 different phases, and by understanding these 5 different phases, we can come up with strategies on how we can actually overcome them and hence put an end to the cycle. So let's start off with phase 1, which is the resistance. Now, procrastination always starts with some sort of resistance, some sort of challenging task that we have to overcome in order to do what we want to do. Take doing your taxes, for example. People procrastinate on doing their taxes because it's really boring and tedious to do so. Save for a few weird people, I don't know why you would want to do your taxes, but doing taxes isn't the most exciting thing. Let's take another example, like working out and going to the gym. People procrastinate on doing that because it takes work to go to the gym. You need to drive there, you need to actually force yourself to pick up weights, to run, to push your body, you know, and that there, it's resistance, right? It is difficult to do. So people procrastinate on doing them because they anticipate the difficulty in actually overcoming that resistance. But here's the thing though, ironically, it is resistance, it is challenge that actually helps us grow. But human beings are programmed in such a way that as we go through life, we tend to want to take the easiest path. We want to avoid any sort of difficulties, any sort of inconvenience, and that is why procrastination often starts just by us envisioning the resistance we have to overcome. Phase number 2 is the escape. Now, so once you face the resistance, what are you going to do? Well, you're obviously going to find a way to escape from having to do that resistance, and the best way you can actually escape is by distracting yourself. In the current era, it is way too easy to distract ourselves. We have Netflix on our television, we have our phones in our pocket where we can scroll TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, all these kind of things. We have a ton of video games. Heck, we can even sit around and do nothing. But there are many ways that we can escape from actually doing the thing that requires resistance by actually distracting ourselves. And biologically, why we do this is because it gives us stress relief. When we do something fun, like, you know, if I'm scrolling my phone and I see a funny video, I'm going to laugh. I'm going to forget that I had to do something, do the resistance to actually level up or get stronger, or, you know, get something done essentially. And I would forget my problems. I would feel a lot more fun. I would laugh, and it makes me feel good. So it's a natural response to want to escape, to want to distract myself from a stressful situation. Phase 3 is the hangover. So just like how if you drank way too much alcohol, the next day you're gonna have a massive headache, you're gonna feel very nauseous, and you pretty much just feel terrible, right? You know, like, why did I actually do this? I'll never ever do that again. And you know, same thing with procrastination, right? If you escape from something by either binge watching Netflix, scrolling your phones, or just like, you know, lazing around, avoiding the task at hand, then you're gonna start feeling really anxious, feeling really guilty, like, why did I actually do that? I wasted so much time. You're pretty much gonna have to face the consequences of your action. And because you feel so guilty, feel so anxious about having avoided the task at hand, this leads then to phase number 4, which is the excuse. You're going to start making excuses for yourself, saying things like, oh, I can always do that tomorrow, or oh, today was a really difficult day, you know, I can kind of take a break, you know, I shouldn't feel guilty about that. You're going to make excuses for yourselves so that you feel better about having avoided the task. And what we tend to do is we tend to tell ourselves like, you know what, I'm actually going to wait till it's the perfect time to do it. I'm going to wait until tomorrow. I'm going to wait until the stars aligned and, you know, things are all perfect for me and I feel my best self and I feel really motivated. And guess what? That never actually happens. So you're pretty much just fooling yourself, just trying to trick yourselves into feeling good and simply tricking yourselves on why you actually did what you did. And phase number 5 is the habit. Because we went through going through the resistance, actually escaping from it, feeling that hangover and then making an excuse for it, we start to develop this habit, this routine around it, that when whenever we face any sort of resistance related to a certain subject, we're going to escape from it and we're going to make an excuse on it. And that's why people who start to procrastinate find it harder and harder to break out of it, because a habit, a pattern is starting to form. This has been actually proven in many different research studies, many different clips, that the problem isn't exactly procrastination. The problem is you developed a habit on procrastination. You have gotten used to the entire cycle that whenever there's resistance, you're going to escape. Whenever there's resistance, you're going to escape. And the reason for this is simply because human beings are creatures of habit. If we do something enough times, we're going to get used to the process of doing it. And this leads us to continue the cycle, this 5 phases indefinitely. We go through resistance, we escape, we start to feel the hangover, feel the guilt, make excuses for ourselves, and we reinforce the action by making it a habit. And we do it again and again and again. And this is why it is so difficult to break out of a cycle of procrastination, because you are starting to form a habit. So I don't want you to feel too guilty about this, because procrastination is essentially a sort of survival mechanism. And this is because of how our brain biology is built. Now, there's many different sections of our brain and they all do different things, but I just want to kind of, simplify how our brain really works. There's this part in the front of our brain called the prefrontal cortex, and that's essentially in charge of having us plan ahead, thinking about consequences, and essentially making rational decisions. So that's the part of our brain that's telling us like, hey, we really need to do our taxes, we really should go to the gym and be healthy, we really should get that task done. But then there is also another part of the brain called the amygdala, which is near the brainstem, and that's more in control of our emotions, actually responding automatically to stimuli. This part of the brain is also in charge of the fight or flight response. So whenever we feel any sort of, resistance, any sort of stress in our body, our immediate action is to take flight, okay? We want to run away from it. We want to distract ourselves from it. And while nowadays the distractions or the problems aren't as life-threatening as, in ancient times, if there was any sort of stress, like, you were getting attacked by a tiger or something, you better run and book it out of there, right? But nowadays, the problems aren't as life-threatening anymore, at least not most of them, right? And because of that, we can afford to, distract ourselves a little bit more. So just understand that this is a very natural response. There's a constant tug of war between the two. One side is telling you like, hey, you gotta get your shit together. And the other side is like, hey, no, there's stress there, we gotta run away. So we have to kind of train ourselves in order to use the part of our brain that's going to help us think about the future, as opposed to constantly just reacting to whatever problems that's happening in our lives. And of course, I'm going to give you some tricks and tips to make this process a lot easier. Now, if you're enjoying the video up to this point, I would really appreciate it if you smash the like button. And if you want to listen to more content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. I'm just a nerd sharing the little lessons that I'm learning on how I can better my life, and hopefully this kind of advice and lessons will help you out as well. So let's get back to it. Now, I don't like my solutions to be too overly complicated. I like them to be practical, easy to execute, and simply something that I can implement right away. So I simply follow these 3 rules, and this is based off my research, listening to tons of people on the internet, reading some books, one of them being Atomic Habits. I even made a video on this. I'll link it at the end of this video. But essentially, I kind of condensed what everyone was saying, and they kind of tend to say similar things. And these are the 3 rules that I follow to make it easier to break out of the cycle of procrastinating. So check it out. Rule number 1, adjust the difficulty. Now, all of us are playing the game of life, and we're all at different skill levels, and the things we have to do are all challenging in their own regards. So take the action of going to the gym, right? Someone who has consistently gone to the gym 10 years is going to find it extremely easy to do an hour-long workout, whereas someone who has never gone to the gym before is going to find it extremely challenging to even do that 1-hour workout. So what you want to do in life is you want to adjust the difficulty. You want to adjust the difficulty to a point that you're willing to play the game that is not going to be too intimidating or too challenging for you. Because let's face it, right? If you never exactly play the game, then you're never going to get better at it. But if you start playing it, even though a little bit, day after day, you're going to get better. I saw this really cool video from Better Ideas where he put this little diagram out about action, inspiration, and motivation. Many people seem to think that it is a linear sequence, that in order to take action, you first have to feel some sort of inspiration, some sort of motivation, and that's going to lead you to take action. But what was said instead is that these 3 aspects are essentially a loop. okay? That action, inspiration, and motivation, you can basically start anywhere. You don't necessarily have to feel any inspiration, feel any motivation before you take action. In fact, it's often more consistent, better for you if you start taking action first, which then eventually leads to you feeling inspired and feeling motivated to continue that action. See, the problem here is that, like we saw in the phases, many people wait for the perfect moment. They make a lot of excuses. They can try tomorrow, they're too tired right now, they're too lazy. But it is simply by starting that you're gonna get the ball rolling, that you're gonna start to slowly break out of the cycle. And the way you do this is, like I said again, by reducing the difficulty. So take doing taxes again, for example, right? Doing the entire task of doing your taxes is extremely overwhelming. There is a lot. But what if you told yourself, I would just do 1 page of it? What if you told yourself, like, I would just do 10 minutes of my taxes? Now it seems a lot more manageable, right? So the resistance, you're basically lowering the resistance. You're making it easier to get into the game of actually doing the task. And seriously, I apply this to so many different areas of my life. I mean, even making this video, right? I had to write out all the ideas, the scripts, you know, all the things I'm going to talk about, and it's pretty overwhelming at first. But what I tell myself is, how about I just write 5 tiny ideas first, 1 little paragraph, whatever it is, and I get started, and I do it again tomorrow, and again do it again tomorrow. Simply by that little fact of breaking things down, by actually making things a lot easier to do, reducing the difficulty, adjusting it to my skill level, that I'm able to slowly stop procrastinating and start doing the things that need to be done. Rule number 2, consistency over intensity. Now I have a quick question for you. Do you think you would master a skill better if you did it continuously for 24 hours or for 1 hour a day for 24 hours? Sorry. Or if you did it for 1 hour a day throughout 24 days. Now, there's going to be some mixed answers to this, but I want to kind of give you some of the cons of doing it for 24 hours straight. If you did something, let's say trying to learn the guitar for 24 hours straight, you'd probably start burning out really, really quickly. You might get too tired, lose focus. You might get pretty sloppy with your practice, and you might not even absorb as much information, absorb the learning that you're actually doing. Whereas you spread it out throughout 24 days, you might have a little more time to absorb stuff, and you'll start to develop something even more powerful, which is the habit. So just like how you can develop a habit of procrastination, you can also develop a habit of doing something that is going to benefit you. For example, for the guitar, if you practice for 24 days straight, most likely you're going to try doing it for the 25th day and the 26th day because it became a habit for you. And this is a problem that I feel many people actually fall into, a trap almost, right? We feel really inspired because that's how human beings are, right? We go through various different emotions, and sometimes we see something or we watch something and we feel something that, you know, like, oh, I'm really motivated, I want to do this, I'm going to go really, really hard at it. So we just go extremely intense right into it. Like, let's just take the guitar example again. Like, we're going to start practicing 5 hours a day, you know, 6 hours a day, whatever it is. But then it's not really sustainable because we're so focused on the intensity that eventually it fizzles out and things get really difficult with learning the guitar. We tend to stop doing it, and that's because we went way too hard before we were ready. It's kind of similar to rule number 1 where, you know, we want to adjust the difficulty, but I want you to understand that consistency is way more important because it helps you build that habit. People tend to overestimate how much they can do, but what you need to understand is not to do a lot of it, but to do it consistently. Whatever it is that you're trying to pick up, if you're trying to go to the gym a little bit more, try to tone it down so that you're able to do the thing without burning out. Many people do something and they just feel miserable doing it, and you don't want to feel miserable doing it. You want to kind of enjoy the process of growth, understand why you're doing it. You shouldn't feel miserable. You should feel like, I'm consistently making progress. This is fun. I'm getting a little bit better, and you do that by adjusting the difficulty and making sure you stay consistent. Rule number 3 is having strategic rewards. Now, hear me out here. Human beings, we always want something in return for anything that we do. And this applies for everything in our real day lives. But the problem is that doing the tough things, doing the things that are good for us, often have rewards very long in the horizon. Like, it's going to take a long time before we get that. Say going to the gym. If you go to the gym for a whole week consistently, like you're doing all the right things, it's going to be a while before you see those 6 packs. It's going to be a while before you get those bulging biceps and you look really sexy. This demotivates people. This makes them feel like, oh, oh, it's so far away, why do I even want to do this? So in order to counteract that, you want to make sure you use rewards to consistently motivate you. Use short-term rewards. You see, you want the game to be somewhat fun, and you need to be really creative about it. So you need to understand what exactly do you enjoy doing? What are you using to escape whenever you procrastinate? That's the trick right there. Okay, remember the phases, right? When we feel resistance, we tend to escape. You want to see like, what are you escaping towards and how you can use that escape for motivation as opposed to distractions. For example, for me, I really enjoy playing video games, and honestly, sometimes I procrastinate playing video games. I'm supposed to do something, I end up playing video games so I can avoid the thing, right? But what I recently tried doing is that I use video games as a reward instead, and it changes everything, because many people think that if they like something, they would feel a lot better if they simply binged it, if they did it a lot. But think about it, if you did something that you weren't supposed to do just to distract yourselves, you start feeling guilty. You just make things worse for yourself. It was simply a distraction at the moment. So what you want to do is you want to take that distraction and you say to yourself like, all right, this is going to be my reward if I'm able to get all these kind of things done. And let me tell you that this is a huge hack that it not only makes things a lot more productive for you in your life, but it makes enjoying the distraction, enjoying the thing that you love way more fun. I used to think like video games are most fun when I binge it, when I play a lot of it consistently, but actually it loses its spark when I do that because I feel guilty. You know, I overindulge in what I really love. Like, you know, say you really like sushi, right? If you ate sushi for the whole year consistently, let me tell you, eventually you're gonna get sick of it. And the same thing it is with whatever you're enjoying in life. You want to make sure you sprinkle it out towards, like it's a reward, and that's how you keep it fresh. That's how you keep the game fun, that you're gonna work hard, get what you need done, and then you can enjoy something guilt-free, anxiety-free, so much more better. It's a win-win for you, for everything, for the hobbies that you enjoy. So thank you so much for watching the video. I really hope that you could pick something from this video that can help you overcome the huge problem of procrastination. If you want to hear more content like this, go ahead and check out this video over here where I covered 7 lessons in 7 minutes in the book Atomic Habits. So thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you guys again very soon. Take care. Peace.